What's up, everyone? This is BigPowner, and today I'm going to be doing the second build guide for the Blade Berserker. This is like the middle point guide. I did like a pre-league guide, kind of just like ideas and different things that you could do with the new trees. This is pretty locked in for me, and I'm going to give you guys the direction that I'm going to be taking it to finish it, give you some item suggestions. I will be releasing crafting videos starting with right after I finish this video. I already got one on my chest, and then I'll be doing all the crafts that I do for this type of stuff. And then the stuff that I'm not going to be doing craft videos for, I'll explain how to get them realistically or the easiest way or how I did it with mine. And then I'll just kind of go over the different options that you have, which way you can specialize it, and why I'm building mine the way that I am. So we'll start off. I'll do a quick map demo and boss kill. Not going to clear everything. Kind of just picked a map that hopefully I can hit the boss quickly so you don't take up too much time on the demo. A little rubber band in there.
My mana is gone.
We'll do some league mechanic real quick. It's a beyond map. I'm stuck on something. I'm not gonna keep on doing the league mechanic. I want to find the boss. There are the Alright, here we go. Oopsies. Forgot to change around my keys.
Dinner is children.
So it's really good on bosses. Pretty much. Oh shit! I don't know what hit me there. Pretty much permafreeze like everything. I don't know why she wasn't permafrozen. But pretty much permafreeze everything. That wasn't honestly. I don't know why she wasn't getting permafrozen. But most of the bosses you'll just flat out permafreeze, just because we hit for massive damage. Um, the min elemental damage on first hits I get is 30%, even on Awakened 8 Seers. So the shock and stuff like that's really high. Um, and I'm already hitting a max shock, and my gear's decent, but it's not like end game gear. So we'll go ahead and jump into it. And I am pretty squishy right now. I actually took a little while to do this video. I was gonna do it sooner, but I kept on having issues trying to balance my resistances, which they're close now. I'm 3 off on cold, and that's the only one that I'm down on. Anyways, so I've got pretty simple helm, just the shocking conflux. The chest is probably my furthest done piece. I already have the video for crafting this, how you can guaranteed craft something comparable to this. Mine didn't turn out amazing. I got a bad regen on the bottom, and then I didn't get any other stat on the top, and I haven't slammed it yet. So that's a super easy item to make. Basically just 2 bases, Awakener Orb, and either 2 harvest crafts or 1 harvest craft. The only way it's 2 is if you wind up with 3 prefixes. So that's super easy to make, not that expensive, probably like 5 or 6 EX. And then necklace, the big thing on the necklace is the endurance charge. I did wind up choosing to go a different unique belt. Normally I wind up going headhunter, but there's a really cool mechanic that you can do with the Arn's Anguish, and the Arn's Anguish is super cheap this league. And the cool thing about doing an Arn's Anguish build is it is really good against both bosses and inside of maps. And the way that I'm personally going to set it up in my build is to have minimum endurance charges all of the time. I'm going to go for 4 of them, which is kind of hard to fit in. I might only wind up getting 3 just because of resistance strapping and stuff like that. But my goal is to have 4 of them, or at least 3 of them. I might not be able to fit in 4. We'll see when I start min-maxing gear. But the first one comes in with the Disciples of the Unyielding. It's a super cheap anointment that we can pick up. That's the reason why we have to go for this additional curse on chest. Um, Also, I chose to go with the base crit and the power charge on critical because we really need to be boosting up our critical in this build. The end game piece of gear for this would be doing the Maven elevated version of this. It would be the elevation on the base crit and the power charge on critical strike. Honestly, you could just elevate the base crit to get that 2%. That would be really good. That's probably what I'll do as my final one. I might elevate them both. You know, if you're slamming together and they're going to be on there, I might just do them both. But I would definitely like as a goal for like your end game piece. You know, once you want to spend more, which that's obviously like doubling, like adding one elevated mod is essentially probably going to about double your cost. So as like your first chest, you probably just want to go for something like this because you can reliably make it, and you're going to get the biggest amount of power boost just by having the base crit, the power charge on critical, which gives us, you know, three power charges really reliably. I think I'm at 12 attacks per second right now. So you know, in less than a second, I'm at max. I'm at max power charges. Another place you could pick up another power charge. You could do a 2 influence. You could go with max power charge on your helm if you're having trouble getting up your crit. The other end game pieces you could go for this. The shocking conflicts obviously is going to be the biggest um, damage increase that you can do, especially if you're looking for like bossing damage. It's only up 3 out of 8 seconds, but then shock is applied and it lasts for a base of 4 seconds. So essentially, if you're in a fight that's lasting, once shocking conflicts comes up, you're gonna have shock applied, assuming you're constantly hitting for 7 of 8 seconds while you're DPSing. But it's just a massive, massive damage increase. It's just too big. Like I said, the min value that I'm getting on elemental ailments is 30%. And then even if you're at a lower value as that shock inflicts, then it's going to start bumping up because you're then doing more damage, which is going to elevate the level of your shock. So just it doesn't even come close to the other options. Like the other options would be a power charge and critical. You could do -12 to nearby. There are other choices, but we have a lot of choices for pen and negative resistances. Obviously, we have the fight for survival, so we can get 2 for single target cold pen, which that's 30% cold pen. We pick up another 8% in the tree, just flat 8%. You have the reduction to through exposure being minimum 18%. There's we have a lot of that mechanic. The shock, being able to pick that up and being able to max shock, because shocking conflicts makes it so that our cold damage counts as lightning damage. There really isn't any bigger damage slot that you can get. I honestly might wind up using this helm for the rest of the league just because I'll probably re-roll. I'll probably metacraft the top. But the reason why would be because the bottom on this is I need the shocking conflicts, the accuracy I needed, the cold resistance I need. So basically, I'll probably metacraft the top with more HP till I hit really big life rolls. And then that will probably be my helm for the rest of the game. The only thing that would get me to swap would be I really want that frostblade damage on the top up there. So I might try to farm that myself, possibly, or see if I can find someone that's farming them that would be able to throw it on there when they find it. But that would really be the only change there. If I do wind up changing it, I would have to wind up picking up cold resistance somewhere else. When I craft my other gear, there's a possibility that I might wind up picking up a big resistance somewhere else, and then I might go ahead and craft the helm. But if I don't wind up having to hit a big resistance somewhere else, that helm might be stuck there. So the necklace is a good slot. This is a pretty good necklace. My only downside here is that I don't have the minimum power charge crafted on, the minimum endurance charge crafted on, which that would give me just that constant endurance charge, which would be really nice. We can craft that on to any of our jewelry, well, besides belt, but to ring, or necklace, and then we get the one on our neck. What this Arn's Anguish does is it turns our endurance charges into brutal charges, which give us a 3% chance to do triple damage. So if we have 4 of those, that's a 12% chance that we're going to deal triple damage. Um, this is just massive because it's a 12% chance to deal triple damage. That means that we're going to be doing 36% increased damage off of our base. The one thing I'd like to mention on this is the triple damage overwrites double damage, so you can stack more on this if you want. Like the the notable gives us endurance charge on kill, which all gaining endurance charges, minimum endurance charges, max endurance charges through the Arns are going to be counted as brutal charges. So you can go for max endurance charges. Like you could pick up some on the boots. That would be another place you could pick one up. You could do dual influence crafts on the boots. You could wind up picking up a max endurance charge there. You could completely change the build and go for some weapons that give you max endurance charge. I wouldn't do that, honestly. The really high attack speed and stuff like that is the way that I'm going to stick, and those max endurance charge options are not, they're really low attack speed bases. Um, and then obviously, there's like synthesized and stuff like that. But obviously, those are getting into the really expensive choices. So that's not what I'm going to wind up doing because I want that constant damage. That reliable all around damage is kind of what I'm going for on the endurance charges. If I can only hit 3, I'm going to still be able to generate 1, which is gonna be good for me. I'll get most of the damage going into bossing. Um, I'm not gonna super sweat it if I'm unable to pick one up, which I am thinking might be on this amulet, because this amulet's gonna be really hard for me to replace, because I've got double tier 1 and a tier 2 resistance. I need both those resistance. As you can see, I'm still down a couple points on the cold, and then I've got pen and more physical on the top. Um, the mana honestly isn't even that big of a deal to me, and the reason why is because I'm running 5 ores right now, and I actually plan to add another one, which I'm going to wind up adding. This is kind of like a choice. You can make yourself more defensive than what I'm playing, because they reduce flesh and stone, which the nice thing about flesh and stone is you can use it as damage increase and defensive because it reduces damage from projectiles, it blinds nearby enemies, and then also it makes it so that you maim. If you maim, it increases the damage that they take. So Flesh and Stone or Herald of Purity are going to be the final one that I pop in, but the way I'm finding it running the best, after trying out a bunch of different combinations, is I'm running 4 right now. I'm running the Herald of Ice, the Hatred, the Precision, and the Defiance banner. You're able to fit all of these in, with tweaking the level of the precision based on how much mana, what level you are, and stuff like that. You have to have enough mana left over to be able to cast your defensive skills, and for regen and stuff like that, to actually keep you able to continue moving and attacking. And we move and attack just insanely fast. So we need a decent amount there. I've been sticking around like the 75 to like 85 range is where it seems to work really well. You could probably go lower, but it feels more comfortable there. Um, for instance, like if I'm on a map where I can't regen or something like that, then I'm just relying on just my leech. A cool way that you could add even another aura, you could actually add two more auras, would be with the replica Hyries. This is really cool. The reason why I like it, and the other option is you could do a where's my okay. So the replica Hyries gives us 100% increased mana reservation efficiency on the hatred, which it's a 50% reservation. The increased reservation efficiency, actually, you can think about it, it's half the value of whatever it says it is. So it actually reduces the cost of hatred by 50%. So you get 25% of your aura cost back, which gives you an extra 25%. Which the cool thing there is that that extra 25%, you could add flesh or stone, which is a 25% reservation, or you could add Herald of Purity. If you are going to do Herald of Purity, my personal choice to go with on Herald of Purity was the Anomalous Herald of Purity because you can have them taunt, which is pretty cool. Because then basically they're going to be being targeted with attacks. Also, if an enemy is taunted and they attack you, they do reduced damage. Taunted enemies do reduce damage to targets that aren't the taunty. So that's cool. That's another option. It's also a cool option that you can go for just because it's not that expensive right now. Creating this video, it might go up more, but right now they're about 30C, which isn't bad at all. The nice thing is it also grants you the level 22 hatred skill, which means you have a high level hatred that you don't have to have a skill gem in, which opens up an extra skill gem for you. Um, I'm not going to be able to swap back to this more than likely, but I figured I'd put it out there as an option. It has pretty good stats. We've got multiplier, cold damage leeches life, number to number physical, and number to number cold, and dexterity. All things that we need. So it's a really good in slot choice for this build. So if you're looking for just like the easy stuff to like throw on, buy that for 30C. Buy the Arn's belt for I think they're like 4 or 5C, um, and that's two items that you're done with. And then you can build around that. My suggestion would be to start off by crafting the harder stuff to fit in, and then move from there. The way that I've kind of made the build is I'm getting the most important things in here. Like my gloves are really bad. These will be something I'll be crafting soon, and I'll do a crafting video on them. But you can see these are the stats on here are really bad. The main reason why I prioritize just getting an additional strike is because if you're following the guide from the beginning, we started off early league with the Tribal Fury right here, but this was 4 points, and now we're kind of getting like more strung out on points, and we're trying to really get in the stuff that we really just need. Um, so having 4 points here that we can get back for one stat on an item is a really big deal. The goal on these, once you can afford to, is to do an elevated skill strike number additional targets, because the elevated one gives you 2 additional strikes. The other priority on the gloves is going to be an additional frenzy charge. We have reliable frenzy generation, and that's more damage that we'll be getting there. So that's really good. Um, so that's going to be the two main stats that we plop in there. Um, as far as the weapons, my weapons, like right now, this foil is going to be amazing, but right now it's not like super crazy. I mean, it says the estimated value is 2.6 EX, but I think that's just based on the the the, the DPS. Um, so like I have 387 physical and a 400 physical DPS foil. These really aren't that expensive to craft. If a bunch of people start trying to buy these, they'll probably get more expensive to buy foils, but I'm going to do some crafting videos on how to make foils comparable to what it is that I'm making, and you could go, you could do more rerolls till you hit something really good, but like this foil cost me like 3 EX to craft. Really not that bad, and 398 physical and 488 DPS total on this one, and it cost me like 3 EX to craft, and one of those 2 EX of that cost was the slam. I just took basically a base, and used got a couple good stats on there, and then used a veiled orb. Actually, so no, 5 EX, 5 EX actually. Um, but the cool thing is once you have it set up like this, then you can reuse the rolling process to get the bottom basically like perfect or near perfect, and then we leave them in this state where they're not influenced yet, because then we can do a finishing with a warlord slam. So I'll walk you through the whole process on making the foils, but the point is you can get something kind of comparable to these for a few EX, if you don't want to do the investment of crafting them. Once you start getting up above that 400 range, they start getting a lot more expensive. Um, so the elusive boots, right now, that's pretty much all they are. Nothing super special. I am going to be crafting elusive boots. I chose elusive over tailwind because I felt the defenses were more important. Having a 15% chance to avoid all damage, the 30% movement speed, I felt like that was more of a priority for me than the damage from Tailwind. The build already has a lot of damage. My upgrade from here on these boots, like I said, you could add max endurance charge. You could also go for physical as extra cold using still on the Redeemer base. One thing that I would like to say is I really like to have this crafted on movement speed plus onslaught. That's like my favorite in-slot choice for a build that doesn't have onslaught built into it, and this build doesn't. So it's really the one place to easily pick it up. The only other way that we could pick it up would be if we were to use an influence modifier, which would be harder to craft the item, and you wouldn't wind up with as good of an item. Probably what I'm going to do with my final pair of boots is I'm probably going to do single influence. I'm probably going to roll triple tier 1 resistances, and then I'm going to metacraft suffixes cannot be changed, and then use a crit harvest slam to put on the elusive. And obviously, like min-maxing, I would just re-roll that till I wound up hitting it with something else that I wanted, probably HP. So that's that there. Um, the two rings would be frostbite and elemental weakness. Right now, mine aren't really that great. Um, they've got some stats on them that aren't good, that aren't really helping me out. But the curse damage is what's big there. Until you get the power charge granted on critical strike, which you can wind up doing, wind up using, is you can use one of the crit the power charge generation rings. This is what I was using up until yesterday, because I couldn't. I was trying to get a ring that I could fit into my build with the stats that I needed. Which the way that you can do that if you can't find one to buy is just buy a base and then just farm harvest and do the caster re-rolls. The caster re-rolls are going to give you a pretty high likelihood of hitting one of the curses. On the Redeemer, the only curse that you can hit is the Frostbite. It's a little bit harder on the Hunter base because there's two different curses that you can roll, and both curses have two tiers on them. So that's going to make it harder to roll on the Hunter base, but you're going to want one of each. But this is a good option until you get your chest crafted as a way that you can generate your power charge, is the power charge and kill. This is going to help you in mapping. It's not going to help you in bossing because obviously you're not going to be getting kills constantly inside of a boss fight. But the minimum endurance, the minimum power charge on this is going to help you out. Obviously, the end goal is to have 5 stats and then have crafted onto the bottom a minimum endurance charge, so that we can hit that goal of 4 endurance charges. You could completely just be like, I don't want to mess with the Arns. the option that you could go with instead of that is you would basically just skip like these 2 points that I've put here to get this max endurance charge because I need one more max endurance charge. You'd skip this anointment. Um, you could get another anointment. You could wind up taking the Whispers of Doom and creating a completely different chest, or you could keep the same chest and you could go for another one of the strong notables that take a lot of points to go for. If you're not going to go for the Arns, I would suggest doing the medium clusters for double damage chance, just because it's a really good multiplier and it's going to increase your ability to hit higher thresholds on ailment, so freezing and then also shocking. So those are going to be what I say there. Going over skill gems. Ancestral Protector, War Chief, Vol Ancestral War Chief. I'm running these three. Always run Portal. This combo is just too good. It's great for bossing. It's great for playing in league mechanics. You can use it in blights to block lanes. It gives you massive, massive damage increases. And then because they added, they made minions and stuff like that have higher life and more damage bonuses and stuff like that. They actually do quite a bit of damage with all your stuff up. So they're just really good. Pretty much fit these into like every melee build that I play. But I don't want to be really casting too much other stuff. So that's the reason why I kind of like this setup. I don't want to be switching back and forth on the Blood and Stone. If I do wind up playing Blood and Stone, which I wind up adding it, I'm not even going to have space to fit it onto my tooltip because I've got so many things that I'm casting. And these have to be able to be actively cast, all of these things. The reason why I'm using Whirling Blades and Leap Slam is because sometimes you can't get over stuff. Well, you can't get over anything with the Whirling Blades. The Whirling Blades, though, is proccing our Hydrosphere and Hydrosphere and Tornado, or Hydrosphere and Fortify. I've played both of them. I want to touch on this. I'm actually going to switch off of Fortify. The reason why is because the Tornado, I do see significant damage when it gets procced in the right areas, so it can be really big damage, and it does like hunt stuff down, and I like that. The reason why I don't like the new Fortify is because it just doesn't really consistently be up. Like sometimes I'll be in combat and it'll be max, and then sometimes I'll be in combat and it's just doing absolutely nothing. So I don't really like having something in my build taking up slots that's just going to do absolutely nothing. And it's a large portion of the time that I'm seeing it doing nothing. Even when I'm like fighting inside of like big packs of stuff, I don't know if it's just not working great, or if just the new design of it just makes it really hard to keep up. But I would rather just have something that's going to just pop up, and if my projectiles hit it, it's going to create a big damage vortex that's gonna spit out a lot of damage. So I like that better, and I'm stacking up other defenses that are going to be more reliable, which is the reason why I'm going with the Defiance banner. What I like about the Defiance banner is it's just adding a lot of defense to me. So just get away from this and I'll show you what kind of damage it's adding. So it's adding an extra 9% physical damage reduction to me, and then I'm running the roomies. I get up to 59% physical damage reduction, which is a nice physical damage reduction. I'm running pretty low life, and I'm able to do max tier expeditions, blights. I've killed Sears, all this good stuff. So I like the combination. I do want to have higher life. Obviously, there's a lot of room to upgrade my gear, and that's probably going to be what my last 4 points go to, is going to just be adding more life. But I like this combination. I wouldn't really actually probably be recasting the Defiance banner. When I do wind up using, I'm going to create a 4-link zone to add one more aura. I'll probably either drop off. I think I'm gonna have to drop off Blood Rage, but there's another way that you can add Blood Rage back in. I don't like losing the portal, Blood Rage is a good amount of damage. The thing is, though, is it's something that I have to cast, and the thing that I don't like is the life leech drain, and the constant life drain. And I don't really have very much regen, so it can be an issue in like no regen maps, or it just like burns you down. We already take the burn from rage. There's like burning effects inside of the league mechanic. I just find the blood rage to be pretty dangerous, so it's just kind of something that like I have to pay too much attention to it. And with how many things are fitting into this build, I feel like if I'm going to get rid of something to just add another aura, that's probably going to be it. The Herald of Purity is probably like the easiest thing. Like just pop it on, and it's going to spawn the sentries and stuff like that. It gives flat percent more physical, and it's also going to have that taunting. Basically, like it's like pseudo defensive because it spawns things that are going to be like taking up hits and just being distracting, and then also having the anomalous, they're going to actually be taunting stuff, which will be actual defensive because it will be taunting things to attack them, and it also reduces the damage if they're taunted, to any hit that you do wind up taking. So that's pretty much going to be what I'm going to be doing. The options, there's a lot of different options that you could take these. Like with the boots, there's so many ways you could take these. Like the most popular being just like Tailwind, Elusive. Like I said, I probably won't do that because I'm probably going to stack triple resistance on these, just to make it easier to fit in stuff on other item slots. You could do the max endurance, and any combination of like max endurance, elusive, tailwind, more physical is extra cold. The gloves, I don't think there's really too much like options there. I think pretty much um, additional strike and frenzy charge like just win by a really large margin. Trying to hit a good attack speed on there is also going to be a really big damage slot because we're able to get up to 16% there. And even just crafted is 12%, so that's a really strong damage slot. The helm, there's a lot of choices here. Shocking conflicts I would definitely include, because there's no comparable damage option. It's probably going to beat out any other two options like added together. So definitely wouldn't lose that, but you could go for also having a max power charge. You could go for the negative resistance to nearby enemies. You could go with the cold on that, so that you'd be able to slam it together with this, so you could guarantee those two on the bottom. That would be a good one that you could do. If you're going to do an elevated version like endgame tier piece, I'd probably say like shocking conflicts with an elevated negative cold resistance to nearby enemies would probably be the best thing, because then you'd have both things on the bottom, which would make it easy to like reforge the top, or block suffixes and slam it with something. That's going to give you your best chance of creating a really nice item, if that is the choice that you go for. Combination of what ring to use. We got a lot of choices here. Steel ring, the opal ring, or the diamond ring. If you're having trouble hitting that crit chance, you could go with the global crit chance, um, through the diamond ring. It's probably also the cheapest base. The opal is nice because if you wind up going for like an end game piece where you're, starting off rolling the percent elemental with attack skills, then when you put on the quality to increase elemental damage, it's going to be hitting your your um, your implicit also along with the other stuff on the item, which would make it a good choice for both these slots. Because if you're rolling for on the Redeemer base, there's probably a good chance that you might hit some cold stuff. So that's going to have good synergy as far as your catalysts. Um, so that's something you can consider. Mess around with PoB a little bit. Um, but that's pretty much all the options there. Giving you the two main options for your necklaces. The main thing with the necklace is just get yourself a good base, a high enough item level base, and then just start using the harvest whenever you get the more cold, and just plug away at it till you hit something really nice. When you hit something really nice, get yourself another base, if you're not completely satisfied with it, so you can keep rolling it. and eventually, you know, you'll probably wind up with something like this. Um, so yeah, there's that. Clusters, clusters and jewels. Clusters, you're gonna want one. Feed the Fury, Martial Prowess, Fuel the Fight. This takes care of our life and mana leech that we're gonna need. I did one that was different. I did one with Deadly Repartee just because this combination inside of my build actually gave the highest amount of damage. It was Feed the Fury, Martial Prowess, and Deadly Repartee. So I did one of each. This gives me extra block chance, so that's cool. You could wind up stacking it. You could even wind up taking and stretching out. You could drop some points in other places, and you could stretch out and go triple large cluster. That would be a choice. As far as your jewels, early on, if you're having trouble fitting in resistances or stuff like that, you can buy cheap jewels to make those fixes. Obviously, once you start moving into a more finished build where you have all your resistances, you have all of your strength, intelligence, dexterity that you need, you're going to want to start moving into crit chance, crit multiplier, focusing mainly on multiplier so that, you know, each jewel isn't costing you 20, 30 EX. You're probably not going to be filling in all 4 multipliers. The kind of budget option I've been going with is triple multi 1 crit. So I've picked up some of those fairly decently. You can also just try to craft these yourself. I save a bunch of jewels. When I get more critical, I wind up taking and just rolling and just rolling on jewels and hoping that I wind up hitting a better jewel. Um, then the one thing past that, going into min-maxing, would be like a multi-stat Watcher's Eye. The number to number cold damage would actually be a really good choice early. I think they're around like 1 to 2 EX for the number cold damage, well affected by hatred. This is a really strong stat, and considering you get percent life and percent mana, this is going to be a really good choice for one of your jewel slots. And then obviously, you know, if you get to a place where you can afford a multi-stat Watcher's Eye, you know, those are going to go up into the 10, 20, up to a mirror, depending on how good of one that you get. Um, but definitely, if you're looking at jewels for 1 to 2 EX, that's a really strong jewel choice for the percent life um, with a modifier that's going to be as strong as like um, a mediocre damage jewel. The all critical jewels are going to be better than a single stat Watcher's Eye as far as damage, so that's something that you should keep in mind. Um, so yeah, there's that to keep in mind. Is if you already have all multiplier jewels, you're not going to get more out of swapping, more damage wise out of swapping that. But the Watcher's Eye with 2 stats, if it's stats that affect you, it's probably going to win in damage, and it's going to be giving you that increased life and mana, so that's going to be a good choice. I'm kind of just waiting for a to eventually buy a 2 stat one because I already have pretty good multiplier jewels to the point where like the only reason that I would swap in a single stat Watcher's Eye is if I just wanted to pick up extra life for about the same damage, but I kind of figure, you know, I'll just wait to get till I can get a 2 stat one, which shouldn't be too much longer. This here is the other jewel that I wound up swapping in Intuitive Leap. I would definitely recommend this. These are Intuitive Leap right now is only 15C, and it makes it so that we can pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notables, um, which is just it makes our points go further, and it's just too strong. 30% multiplier for 1 point, 6% attack speed, accuracy, and global accuracy, 10% max life, 30% increased recovery rate, and then we've got the 20% increased attack, damage, movement speed, critical strike chance. Too good. Oh yeah, and a frenzy charge. So that right there is just like a killer spot to throw some points in there. So I definitely recommend that also. Um, and that's pretty much it. The last thing that I'll mention on is right now I'm using all basically defensive flasks besides a diamond flask. I will actually wind up swapping these out. I've kind of just slacked on it. The Taste of Hate is definitely going to go in there. Um, oh, a lot of the flasks kind of really got like nerfed and rebalanced. The the taste of hate is definitely going to go in there for me. Um, I would say probably the strongest things to go with would be taste of hate, um, taste of hate, bottle of faith. Um, you could go with the wise oak. Wise oak would be a good choice, just because it gives you reduced damage taken, and the pen, and then it also gives you 35 all resistances. Which is nice to have running because if you play like elemental weakness, negative resistance map, if you're like kind of sitting right at that spot, having the extra resistance. Right now I was running extra resistance on a Quicksilver Flask. It's got that movement speed and then additional elemental resistances during Flask. That's how I've been kind of playing. Well, I've had under my capped resistances, but I should really be swapping that to like, and the Flasks are cheap now. You could go at Xeres, because it's going to give you physical damage, this extra chaos from both your physical before it's converted and your elemental. So that would be pretty good damage if you're looking for another cheap damage flask. Obviously, the bottled faith is really good because it still has a 7 to 10% increased damage taken on the consecrated ground. Obviously, also the consecrated ground gives us regen, so it's a pseudo um, defensive because it gives us regen. And then also the 100 to 150% critical strike chance is really big. So that's obviously going to be a best in slot. Um, I do want to also mention the Pantheon. So there's a lot for this. Absolutely, you're going to want to go for this Pantheon. Soul of the Brine King, it's the very top left. I guess you can't see it because of my box. But it prevents us from being stunned if you've been stunned in the past 2 seconds. The thing that I want to say about that is once we have 25 rage, we can't be stunned. So we're immune to stun. So that doesn't really help us much. But the other three are absolutely huge. So we get 30% increased stun and block recovery, which doesn't sound like a big deal. But considering we have base block chance because of dual wielding, and then if you pick up the nodes inside of your big cluster, and we get a little bit more block chance in some other places, I think, if I remember correctly, you have a decent block chance. And the thing is, if you're taking a lot of hits and you have like no recovery, it can kind of like lock you down. So having that stun and block recovery is pretty nice as a kind of a freebie. The big deal though is it makes it so that we cannot be frozen, and it gives us 50% reduced effective chill on you. Once you're running the Taste of Hate, you obviously have even more reduced effect. We have some other reduced effect and chances to avoid inside of there, so it makes it so that ice is just not an issue at all, which is super, super sweet. The other thing that I'm going to suggest, this one could be changed, but I really like this. Solar of Rizlatha, you're going to want to mix that with an instant heal flask. So what this does is it makes it so that you gain 60% increased life recovery from flasks used when on low life. Low life is 50% or below, which normally you're not going to be really slamming your health flask unless you're at that really low point. The cool thing is we have these reduced amount recovered and instant recovery when on low life. So it procs the instant recovery when Soul of Rizlatha is procking a 60% increase, which gives you about a 4,000 instant heal HP, and you're able to use it 3 times, which is super OP. And then also the combination with that is that if you life flask gain 3 charges every 3 seconds if you haven't used a life flask recently, which I believe is in the last 4 seconds. So inside of boss fights, like if you run out of your life flask, you can just kick it for a little bit. Like if you're inside of like Cirrus and you burn your life flask trying to get through the fire or something, then you can just kick it for a minute and your life flask is just going to fill back up. That's pretty nice. Those are my favorite pantheons. Definitely I would fill those out. Um, you could go something else with for the Rizlatha. Obviously, we have like the immune to unaffected by burning ground is really nice for burning ground maps. Reduced effective curses on you, that can be really nice. There is other stuff on the bottom that you can swap, but I don't think anything really competes with just running the Soul of the Brine King all of the time, because then you don't have to deal with freeze, you don't have to deal with chill because it takes it down to a manageable level. Like I'm 100% just I just kick it on these. um, so yeah. Anyways, I hope this video has been helpful. Um, uh, I have to stop myself. I just want to say on Rumi's concoction. Um, so I was talking about the flask and I was about to sign up. I'm like, oh, it's getting long in time. I gotta, but I should finish. So I'm actually gonna keep on the Rumi's concoction. I was talking about the chance to block. This is my other extra chance to block. This is really nice. Basically, this gives me 10% um, increased physical damage reduction. You can see right here, it gives me an extra 10% physical damage reduction. It also boosts up block chance and gives us chance to block spells. I like this a lot better than you could go Lion's Roar. The reason why I don't like the Lion's Roar is because it has knockback, which can actually be really annoying. In some situations it's good, but for instance, like say like there's a dude with a shield and you jump into it with him and then you attack him and it knocks him out, and then you have to basically continually be gap closing if you're trying to kill something, which is super annoying. So even though it gives a damage boost along with that defensive buff, I just don't like it. So I'm gonna avoid that. I will wind up keeping um, the roomies. I'm probably gonna go 3 damage flasks. Um, and I'll probably keep the roomies and then the health flask. Um, okay, so now I'm done. Thanks. If you guys like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If I missed something, you guys have some questions, go ahead and leave a comment. I will get back to you as soon as possible. If you're not already and you enjoy this content, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Peace.